Welcome to this lesson talking about our trig ratios. Make sure that you have two things: the worksheet from the binder as well as your math dictionary. So you need both those things before we begin. On your worksheet you have a triangle where I'd like you to fill a couple of things out. Within a triangle, we have a right triangle where opposite the right angle is called the hypotenuse. Now when we get into trig here, we talk about different angles. There's two different angles aside from that right angle. If I were to put this little theta symbol here, and we were referencing this angle in red, there's the opposite side and adjacent side from that angle. The opposite side is the side across from that angle. The adjacent means right next to. So the side that's right next to it is called the adjacent side. Now what happens is, I'm going to do this in a different color, is we either reference the red theta angle in a trig problem, or if I put theta up here in green, we could reference that angle in which the opposite side and the adjacent side would switch. And this side would become the adjacent.
No, she hasn't. Why has Miss Anderson been looking for me?
In this first example, it says to identify the hypotenuse, the opposite side of angle Z, and the adjacent side to angle Z. So when we're talking about this angle Z, the side opposite it would be across from the triangle, and that would be side XY. The hypotenuse is always across from the right angle, which would be side ZY. And the adjacent side to angle Z, the side right next to angle Z, would be right here. It would be XZ. Let's look at the second example. We use our reference angle as angle H. To find the hypotenuse, again, I usually like to make a little arrow with that right angle symbol and point to the hypotenuse. So the hypotenuse is HU. The side opposite of angle H is IU. And the side adjacent to angle H would be HI. There's our adjacent side, opposite side, and hypotenuse. I'm going to let you do this example on your own. We're going to move forward. If you want to pause the video, do that example. Similar right triangles have equivalent ratios for their corresponding sides called trigonometric ratios: sine, cosine, and tangent. In your math dictionary, I want you to pause the video and make sure that you have this diagram and this equation for the sine, cosine, and tangent. So you've completed writing that down in your math dictionary. We have a saying to help us remember the sine, cosine, and tangent. It's called SO, CA, TOA, where the SOH means the S stands for sine, and it's a ratio of the opposite side divided by the hypotenuse. That's where the O and the H come into play. The CA means the C stands for cosine, the A stands for adjacent over the H is our hypotenuse. And TOA, the T stands for tangent, the O stands for the opposite divided by the A, which is the adjacent side. I'm going to do a couple of examples and leave the rest to you. So example 1 here. What are the sine, cosine, and tangent ratios for angle T? Angle T is right here. It's this angle. So we first need to identify our hypotenuse, our opposite side, and our adjacent side. Well, the hypotenuse is easy. It's right across from the right angle. The opposite and adjacent, well, that depends on which angle we're talking about. If we're talking about angle T here, then across the triangle is the opposite side. And right next to angle T, that is not the hypotenuse, would be our adjacent side. So to find the sine of angle T, here's how we usually write it. We have our so, ka, toa, our sine, and you have your notes right in front of you. We need a ratio. So this is my fraction symbol. The opposite goes on top. The hypotenuse goes on the bottom. So our opposite side here would be 8. The hypotenuse would be 17. So the sine of angle T ratio is 8 over 17. Cosine of angle T, if I use my SOHCAHTOA, that's the ratio of A divided by H. So the adjacent side is 15 over the hypotenuse of 17. Lastly, we need to find the tangent of angle T. Well, the tangent of angle T is the O and the H. So it's a ratio of the opposite on top, the A is on the bottom. So our opposite side is 8. Our adjacent side is 15. So our tangent of angle T equals 8 over 15. I'm going to let you try the rest on your own. If you have questions or this is still confusing, please seek out myself.